Welcome to Afternoon Garage. No more plumbing today. That's good. I'm gonna get into electrical a little bit. Put some interior lighting in the trunk so you can be able to see all the work we just did over the past 3 weeks. Let's get started with that. Well, here's what I'm gonna use to make it happen today. So I've used this LED channel before, usually underneath the dash. And I'm gonna have to bend this a little bit to fit, and these parts kind of go on the flanks, and you can attach it with these little clips here, but they're kind of small, and I've had one of them break before. So, and not only that, they don't sit flush. There's kind of a gap in there, so I think I'm going to just use 3M double-sided tape. This stuff's really good, especially if you clean the surface really well with alcohol first, and most surfaces, and then after 24 hours this stuff sets up to where you have to actually rip the foam in half. The adhesive remains. So we use a product like this. I really like it. And then for the LEDs, I've chosen kind of a more blue light. That's like probably a 6K light here, and I think that's really they're kind of spaced far apart. This is actually kind of old technology, so it probably doesn't draw a whole lot of current. But I'll get it together, measure it, and then see what I need to do for some kind of a tilt switch or a motion switch there to switch these on and off. And of course, I'll just be using also a JST connector to hook them up. Make it real nice and easy. Probably just going to need 2 wires. It's only 12 volts, so no voltage converter here. No dancing lights, nothing funny like that. But good old helpful light in the trunk when you need it. So the first thing to do is cut these things in length, and then kind of get them bent up to where you need them. And then start laying the LED strip in the channel and wire them together. And just pay attention to there is no actual in or out, but just pay attention to the polarity here. That's all you got to know, and should be plug and play. So I want to stick it up here, so kind of want to get the contour. So you look underneath here, see if you have any gaps. That looks pretty good. I think I'm going to put that there, and then it'll shine down on everything that's going on down here. I was going to go with a switch like this, which is like a pin switch. This is something you'd see on the inside of a door, where you can, has a jam nut. You kind of set the distance there. But, having this in that, and there's a wet area back in there where the hinge would probably work pretty good. But then I'd have to worry about water entering the trunk, and I really don't want to mess with that at all. So I think I'm going to get either a mercury tilt switch or something like that to put in the trunk itself. Something hopefully might be enough current to drive my LEDs without a relay. But if I have to use a relay, that's all right.
1 week later.
So that put me on the hunt for a tilt switch. Here's a tilt switch I found. It's made by Direct Electronics, and it has a little ball bearing inside of this little can in there, and you can actually hear it kind of moving around in there. And as when it tilts this way, it opens, and as it tilts this way, it closes. So this is ideal, but the problem with running one of these is the amount of current these things can only switch real low quantities of current. In fact, when I look at the instructions here, it says it's good for only 20 milliamps. So that's not going to drive anything except for maybe they show kind of a relay on here. Kind of went searching in my box for a relay. As this gets more complicated, and then we're going to start adding more parts to this thing. And this is typically what I would use for just a regular 12-volt relay. I think this is good for about 10 amps or something like that. It's real nice and compact, and you can kind of hide it in the wire loom itself. You kind of just tape it up. I really don't like these. I want to kind of get away from using these things because they do have dry contacts. And another thing is they draw current all the time. So whether it draws a quarter of an amp or whatever, still these things are drawing a little bit of current when the thing is on. So I kind of want to get away from that. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a transistor that's good for maybe 4 amps or something like that, and use a transistor to actually switch it with a solid state switch. Should be easy to do. But first, we need to know how much current these lights draw. Now, they're not really, that's kind of old technology. I think, I don't know the number of these LEDs, but, you know, they're not that bright. And they'll serve the purpose, but I don't imagine they draw a whole lot of current. But I'm going to have to find that out. So, got the meter on. We'll hook it up here. There we go. So you can see it's about 650 milliamps. So that would be like 0.6 amps, you know, right around 3/4 of an amp or so. You got to remember, we're not going to use all of this in there either. You know, my channel is only so long here, but still, that's going to be way more current than the 20 milliamps that this thing can handle. Here's what I came up with. This is a NPN transistor. This is good for about 10 amps or something like that, way more than you need. And all it's going to do is just drive this switching transistor, and all you're going to do is switch to ground. So the hot stays hot all the time, and then you switch to ground, and then what that'll do is the current will go through the transistor rather than through this thing here. You definitely don't want to do that because this won't last very long. That little ball in there, I'm pretty sure it's very small, and it's just really not going to last unless you have some kind of a switching circuit like this one. This is a very simple circuit, but I'm going to draw it out and make a schematic of it and leave it on the Afternoon Garage Facebook page if you're interested. So here's our tilt switch, so it's upside down. There we go. So now what we're doing is we're actually switching. You can see that the tilt switch is actually just hooked up to the base of this transistor. And seems to work all right. So we'll mount this on the trunk lid itself, and this should last for years. Alright, this is sort of how it turned out here. We got that transistor in there and a little resistor, and probably just going to wrap it with some cloth tape. So you have the positive and negative, and then this is kind of the remote wire. Let's get it on this channel and get it in the car. smoking. It's going to be real easy to see something in the trunk. You know, see if you have a leak, you want to make an adjustment on that amplifier there. Yeah, everything looks really nice and clean. Everything's tucked away. Got the relays here out for serviceability. And there's that tilt switch. Worked really good. I guess the only test here is, does it shut off? Yes, it does.